So My Hero Academia Chapter 301 is finally out, and with it comes the newest episode on the hit series Keeping Up with the Todorokis.
Sometimes the world looks perfect, nothing to rearrange.
In this chapter, we get a closer look into Endeavor's relationship with his son Toya, as well as the rest of his family. And, as you would expect with these people, there are tears and trauma, but there's also plenty of insight into each of the family members' motives. Why Endeavor did what he did to Toya, why Rei allowed Endeavor to do all of it, and also the real reason why Toya turned into the person he is today. So as you can imagine, there is a hell of a lot to unpack. But before I begin talking about this chapter, I'm first going to go into a quick summary of what happened last time. In the last chapter, we finally got to see the full effects of the Paranormal Liberation War and Dabi's delicious truth bomb on the world. Heroes are now being criticized and ridiculed for everything they do, with the general populace furious at how people who call themselves protectors let all of this happen. This mass ridicule has resulted in a massive amount of pro-heroes either hiding away or just leaving the hero business entirely. And since there are far less heroes on the streets, the criminals and villains have come out in droves, forcing the everyday person to take matters into their own hands to protect their homes. And with this new insurgence of vigilantes, not the cool ones like these ones here, which you should totally check out my video on, #shamelessplug, heroes have begun to be filtered out in the search of a true hero. And as if destiny itself had a hand in the whole situation, we see the hero killer Stain return to the streets. But then, the chapter turns back to Endeavor in his recovery room where he realizes that no matter what Dabi has done or is going to do, he can't fight his son. Endeavor breaks down in a heart-wrenching moment where he proclaims the hero known as Endeavor is dead. But this moment of guilt and regret is interrupted by the rest of the Todoroki family, where the chapter ends with Rei entering the room telling Endeavor they need to talk about Toya. And now, it's on to chapter 301. This chapter opens up with a flashback to Endeavor's first encounter with Rei and a silhouetted figure who I can only assume is one of her parents. Rei's parent is basically giving a sales pitch to Endeavor about why Rei would be a perfect wife for a top hero like him. Now it's revealed in this sequence that Rei agreed to marry Endeavor, knowing full well it was a quirk marriage for the sake of her family. Now it's interesting to note the phrasing, Rei agreed, implying that she actually had a choice in the matter, which does change a bit of the perspective on the marriage. But that point is also kind of made useless with the fact that she did it for her family's sake. Now I have no idea why her family was in trouble or why marrying Endeavor would save it, but Rei fully knowing that Endeavor just wanted her for children and still going through with it for her family just shows the strength and good-hearted nature of her character. Endeavor even makes a comment about how she is strong, but if I touched her she might have melted away. The story then cuts back to Rei entering Endeavor's recovery room, where Endeavor asks her if she is okay, to which she replies, not at all, that's why I am here. Now I'm not sure if it was intentional or not, but I love Rei's use of the iconic I am here line at this moment. It's always been used for a hero making a big entrance or the villains making a dramatic statement. But when it comes down to it, a hero doesn't have to be flashy, strong, or someone who makes a big spectacle. The truth is, a hero is just someone who is there to help. And Rei saying I am here is a beautiful nod that she too is a hero in her own right, proving the point that anyone can be a hero. But anyway, the story then makes another cut to a secluded house out in the middle of a forest where we see Dabi recovering from the war. Here, Dabi states that he really burnt himself up using his fire, to the point where he actually can't feel anything. He then goes on to make comments about how he knows that there is no way Endeavor is dead after everything that has happened, and that he is looking forward to seeing his father's miserable face when he has to come forward and face the public. He then goes on to recite his family's names as he tells them to watch him in the pits of hell, as a tear of blood rolls down his face. And with this, the scene cuts again. There are a lot of cuts in this chapter, but don't worry, I'm pretty sure this is the last one. As the scene zooms in, we see the Todoroki household as a young Toya is giving out to his father, saying that he promised the two would train together on his day off, but now he's leaving. Now it is important to note that in this scene, Toya still has red hair and has a bandage on his face and his left arm. Endeavor replies to the young boy saying that he has to go off for Toya's own good, to which only makes Toya more angry. Now when Endeavor leaves with his wife, they head off to a hospital where they are actually talking to a doctor about Toya's quirk. Now you can't see his face, but I swear the doctor they're talking to looks looks exactly like Kyodai Garaki. You know, the doctor who made Shigaraki All for One? He's bald and he wears glasses. They're practically identical. But it being Kyodai also makes sense with what he says. He tells Endeavour and Rei that Toya has a peculiar crossbreed of their two quirks. While he inherited fire that is actually superior to Endeavour's, he only gained Rei's resistance to ice. Meaning that while Toya can create flames, he actually doesn't have any resistance to them like Endeavour. And after this, the doctor tells Rei and Endeavour that this method of quirk breeding is taboo and he advises them to quit now. Now why this fits with Kyodai is because he is the one who proposed the quirk singularity theory, which is the theory that quirks will eventually become too powerful to control. And with Endeavour and Rei trying to make a perfect hybrid quirk, they were only accelerating the time it would take to make this happen. So it's got to be him. Or it's just a random bald doctor, which I've made a terrible assumption about. And with all of this, a shot of All Might flashes through Endeavour's head as he recollects telling Toya that he would be the one to surpass All Might. We then see Toya sitting on a couch with a very small and adorable Fuyumi. Here, Toya lets his anger out, saying that he doesn't care how much his quirk burns him, he will be the one to surpass All Might. And that Endeavour is the one who ignited this desire within him. But at the same time, it shows Endeavour talking to Rei about having more children. Rei says that it would be too cruel on Toya, but Endeavour replies that he has tried to stop Toya from using his quirk time and time again, but he keeps coming back with more burn marks. Endeavour admits that Toya unfortunately inherited his foolishness, referring to his futile attempt to ever surpass All Might, as Endeavour also states that Toya can't surpass him. And with this, Endeavour implies that making a child with the perfect quirk hybrid is the only way to make Toya stop. We then get a quick montage of Natsu and Shoto being born as Toya looks on in despair, as in his mind, he is watching his dream being taken away right in front of him. It's also really interesting to note that every shot we see of a new sibling being born, Toya's hair becomes more and more white, with it fully turning with the birth of Shoto. It's a nice reflection on how with each child, Toya comes closer and closer to essentially becoming obsolete in his father's eyes, with his hair losing his father's color entirely as the child who would take his place is born. Also, when Shoto was born, Toya's hair is fully white. So this scene in the anime still doesn't make sense. You done goofed, anime, you done goofed. This chapter then takes a pretty depressing turn, as the next shot we see is Toya training his fire quirk in Endeavour's training grounds, and as he is doing so, his eyes are welling with tears as he proclaims to himself, "I can surpass him too, look at my strong flames, look at me." Now this is actually a really sad moment. Toya was told that he was destined for greatness, and in achieving that greatness, he would not only shine brighter than everyone else, but would also make his father, his idol, proud. I mean, just look at Endeavour when he first sees Toya's flames. But then, due to something that is completely out of his control, it all gets taken away from him. And he is not only told to stop trying to become the person he was destined to be, but he is forced to watch as his own sibling takes away his destiny and gets the life he was promised. Toya just wanted to make his father proud, and his desperate pleas of "look at me" into the empty training ground is him just wanting to feel the belief his father had in him before his siblings were born. After this, Endeavour takes away Toya and scolds him for using his quirk, telling him that he doesn't realize how much damage he is causing to himself. Endeavour suggests that Toya go play with Fuyumi or Natsu or his friends in school and forget everything he told him before. Now what makes this really interesting is because of how Endeavour treated Shoto, it was assumed that he did the same thing to Toya, only taking it too far, which led to his accidental death. But from here, it actually looks like it was the opposite. Endeavour wanted Toya to stop. He tried to prevent Toya from pushing himself too far and severely injuring himself. But it looks like this, ironically, is the reason Toya ended up going as far as he did. It's a strange moment where Endeavour wanting his son to stop is both kind-hearted and a bit messed up. He wants Toya to stop because he doesn't want his son to hurt himself, but he refuses to teach him at all because he doesn't believe his son is capable of becoming the number one hero. And finally, the chapter comes to its conclusion when, in hearing his father's words to give up, a teary-eyed Toya proclaims he can't because he is his father's son. And as a rage bursts through his body, Toya lights up with his fire quirk and makes a desperate dash attack towards Rei and Shoto. And as he charges his mother and his sibling, he thinks about how he just can't get rid of the desire to surpass All Might. And he lets an animalistic scream out, saying, look at me, Endeavour. And with this, we see Rei talking to Endeavour in the present, telling him, you're not the one in the most pain, and you weren't the only one who refused to look at the child. And thus, the chapter comes to a close. God, I love keeping up with the Todorokis. This chapter gave us a great look into how Toya became Dabi, and it might change a few people's opinions on Endeavour. Probably not, but I still love the guy. But let me know what you think of this chapter. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a like and comment what you think is going to happen next. For more My Hero content, subscribe to the Lunchtime crew. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Plus Ultra.